Achilles' heel, a serious flaw or weakness. I had an Achilles' heel moment once. It all went down when I was 3 years old, and the situation was this. My mom's in the kitchen taking care of my younger brother who's in his high chair. She's doing all those vital things moms do every day to keep the planet spinning. She's washing him, she's feeding him, she's taking care of him. I'm in the living room watching TV. Hell yeah, dude. Growing up, mom and dad were very conservative people. And they were always very conscientious about what we watched. They didn't want whatever we watched to have a bad influence on us. Their thinking was if I watched a movie where all the characters resorted to violence to solve their problems, that might rub off on me. If I were to watch a cartoon where every character speaks with vulgar language and is dismissive towards authority, I might start to imitate that. So, as a result, more often than not, when I did watch TV growing up, I watched Mountain Lake PBS. Made possible by viewers like you with the waterfall and everything. And PBS is great. They have science shows and history lessons, stuff that mom and dad wanted us to ingest, wanted us to pay attention to. So that day, my mom puts me down in the living room, turns on the TV, turns on Mountain Lake PBS. She's walking back to the kitchen thinking, that's good, that's wholesome, that's a safe bet. And 9 out of 10 times she would have been correct. But that day, they were airing a documentary on skydiving. I'm in the living room, I'm not sitting anymore. I'm up on my feet, I'm staring at the TV, my nose is this close to the screen. I'm watching men in airplanes jump out and fall thousands of feet with the wind rushing by their hair, and then they pull a parachute and poof, they're flying over the Grand Canyon with all this electric guitar rock playing like, and I'm like, yes, I wish I could do that. But then I realized, I can't do that. I don't have a plane. Then the documentary, those switched locations from people who were skydiving to a place where people practice how to skydive. Maybe you've seen one of these. Maybe you've been in one of them. They have these huge vertical wind tunnels where you can get in, and the updraft, the air, lifts you off the ground. So it's like you can practice your maneuvering for when you actually skydive. As soon as I saw that on the TV screen, a light bulb went off in my 3-year-old brain. I was like, I can do that. And I was trying to think, deductively for a 3-year-old, I was like, the air is coming out of the ground. That's what's making them float. I have a way to make air come out of the ground. My house's heating system. So I run over to the thermostat, which was always, you were not allowed to touch it, but no one was protecting it at the time. I crank that sucker to 90. I put on my Mickey Mouse Clubhouse backpack because the guys on TV had parachutes and I wanted to look like them. And then I looked around the room because I wanted to imitate the jumping. I wanted to imitate the launching they were doing when they jumped out of those planes. I was like, how can I get a running start? What can I jump off in this room? And I saw in the corner the exercise bike. And you got to remember, when you're 3 years old, the exercise bike is like this towering thing. And I thought to myself, that is perfect. So I run over and I grab it and I'm dragging it across the room to the living room heat vent. And it's not one of those like nice new lightweight plastic exercise bikes. It's one of those heavy metal old-fashioned ones, and I get it to the vent, and I clamber up on top of it, and I'm wearing my backpack, and I'm staring down at a cast iron heating grate. And like an Olympic high diver, in full faith that I would float, I went head first. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might detect 1 or 2 Achilles' heels in this plan. Delusion, for one. Little thing called gravity. I don't know if we have any physics buffs in the building, but thank God halfway down my self-preservation instincts clicked in, because if they hadn't, my brains would have gone through that grate like hamburger meat. But right before I hit it, my left arm shoots out. Pop, pop. I shatter my radius and my ulna. Thank God, though, it cushions my blow just enough that I'm lying on the heat grate in agony, but alive. My mom from the kitchen hears this. Oh! Now, I was a bit of a drama queen growing up. So mom from the other room's like, what is it? She's like trying to take care of the baby. I'm like, I have a boo-boo. That's what we called it when you got hurt growing up. And mom, again, I mentioned like a drama queen. I was a drama queen. I would frequently run up to her growing up with like a little cut on my knuckle and be like, am I going to die? So more often than not, she gave the advice she usually gave in these situations. She was like, just kiss it and make it better. I look at my arm hanging, not from my elbow, But from here, where the bone's shattered, it's just hanging there lifeless. And my mom to this day will swear she heard me say, "I don't think a kiss is gonna fix this." When she finally did come in, she's like, "Oh my God!" She picks me up. We run out of the house. She's already like on the phone with the emergency room with like a baby in one arm and me in the other. I ruined my mom days off from work, okay? The entire day was just dealing with this arm situation. We get to the guy who makes casts. He's like, "What color do you want your cast?" I'm like, "Red, yo." So it wasn't a total waste of a day from my perspective, at least. And this whole time, this whole day, Mom and Dad keep pumping me for information. They're like, "What happened? How did you do this? What have you done?" And, I wasn't very forthcoming. They couldn't really get anything out of me. Finally, when all is said and done, we're driving home. I'm in the backseat of the car, and I got, this cast on. And just as I'm falling, asleep, they hear me say, "Mom, Dad, next time we get a backpack, can you guys get one that works?" I was blaming it on technical failure. I was like, if you had just got me a functional parachute. I don't think gaslighting had been invented yet, but I was already a pro. I was like, "You did this to me, you!" But, when all is said and done, one thing they don't tell you about breaking your arms, it's great for your social life when you're in preschool. Everyone would come up to me and be like, "Whoa, dude, what is that?" I'm like, "It's a cast. It's red." Everybody would talk about it, and, we can laugh about it now, thankfully. But if there's anything I would say as a piece of advice as I wrap this up, it's number one, when we make a mistake, when we have an Achilles heel, sometimes our first instinct about what it was we did wrong isn't always right. So it's good to check in with loved ones. And the second thing I would say is, on TV, when it says, "Don't try this at home," don't try it at home, or you might end up breaking something. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great night.